Hi everybody, it's Lori here. We're going to do our webinar today on the resource rescue, how to use your electronic book of style or eBOS and the Stedman's resources. We get asked a lot of questions about these and the latest version of it. We don't have a webinar for, so I thought I would go ahead and explain that today. So welcome everybody. So first of all, let's start off with the book of style, or you may see it written as BOS in our comments in your grading. The book of style is basically, we jokingly refer to it as the Bible for medical transcriptionists. Excuse me, it's basically a book that outlines how to format different specialty things, how to do ranges, ratios, punctuation, grammar, headings, all kinds of things. So it is what you're going to look to after the account specific. So if you have started into the body as a whole unit and you have already been looking at your account specifics, they of course trump the book of style. But after that, anything to do with how to format things, punctuate, if you need help with grammar, any of those things, you're going to turn to your book of style. And the same will happen in the workforce. You're going to have your account specifics first, and anything that they don't cover, you're going to look to the book of style to see, how do I write this? How do I punctuate this? And so on. So it's a very, very important book for you guys to get to know. So excuse me, the book of style is split into sections, and then within those sections there are chapters, which we'll go over in a little bit. But the basic sections are section 1, your medical legal record. So that will talk about types of reports, editing the record, privacy, security, and so on. Section 2 is your general standards of style. That's your punctuation and grammar section. Then you've got your measurement and quantitation, section 3. So that would be anything to do with numbers, percents, ratios, ranges, units of measure. Excuse me, section 4 are your specialty chapters, and I'll get into those more later. And they will talk about anything to do with, for instance, cardiology or oncology, anything to do with a specialty and formatting or how to write certain things that are related to those specialties. Section 5 are your industry trends and standards. So you're going to find some information in there about various privacy rules, speech recognition. You might be surprised what you can find in book of style in those sections. And then you have your appendices in the back, and we'll get into those too because there's some handy things there. Okay, so then your book of style, when you start the course, we send you an email, and it's going to have the redemption code you're going to need, and it's going to help you to you're going to have to download VitalSource. So there are 2 ways that you can access the electronic book of style. You can use the VitalSource bookshelf. Excuse me, I'm stuffy again as usual. The VitalSource bookshelf icon that's going to be on your desktop when you download it, or you can use this website to access it online, and they look slightly different. I'm going to show you the differences today, and you can decide which one that you prefer. So let's check out these differences. So I'm just going to minimize this, and let's start with the bookshelf one. So here's the little icon underneath my dog's chin there. I'm just going to get started there. Okay, so anything that you have downloaded would show on this very first page. If you have not downloaded it yet, you basically just go to the account tab, hit redeem code, and the code that we emailed you, you would enter there. Let me just find my way back to, there we go. I have highlighted a couple of things, just playing with it, and they're showing up on the right-hand side as well, just so you know. So if you want to get this opened up, you just double click on it. It will open a new page, and it will have, now this has got the last page that I happen to be on, but usually it will show your cover page. So if you don't see this column over on the left-hand side, what you might need to do is where it says navigation here, if you can't see that, you need to hit show navigation, and then this will pop up. And this is so important because this is how you're going to search things. Okay, so basically what you'll see here is the cover page, page 1, and then the back cover. And you're like, well, that's great. Where's the rest of the book? So if you just have a look where that little triangle is, or you click on page 1, or no, it has to be the triangle, it will open up the chapters. So we can see section 1, the legal medical record, and then we can see the chapters within it. Section 2, standards, general standards of style, and so on. So all of the chapters are here. So there's a couple of ways if you're trying to find something that you can do it. The one way that you can do it is to just go up here into the search bar and you can type the word in. So I'm just going to use a word fraction just for fun. And there's a bunch of different results that come up. Of note, you can make this column wider on the VitalSource icon version, so you can get a much bigger preview of these results. So hopefully that can help you narrow it down. Sometimes when you search certain words, like say period, for example, it could be in here so many times you'll have no idea which one that you want. So the other thing that you can do is, okay, if I want to look up, let's go with the periods thing. I know that that's punctuation, so I'm going to click on chapter 6 for punctuation, and it's going to give me a preview there. Oops, I just accidentally turned pages. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit. There's our zoom in and zoom out. Okay, so here's our punctuation page. We can see all of the things that are listed. And I'm scrolling with my mouse, and it's going to the next page. I should actually use this so I can see the whole thing. I'm sorry. So anything to do with a period is 6.1.1. Anything to do with commas, you can see all of the different sections that you might want. Continue on next page. So I can scroll with my mouse, or I can hit the next page button, and there's the rest of that chapter. So let's say I want 6.1.1. That looks like what I want. So then what I can do is just go up here and type in 6.1.1 and go to that page. So that would actually be here where it's highlighted. Oh, wait, no. Oh, it's going to be tricky with me this morning. That's strange. There it is, 6.1.1, and it will highlight it on the page. Okay, so that's another way that you can do it, is find it in the cover page for that chapter that you know is the appropriate chapter, see what the reference is, and then search the reference. That will help you narrow things down a little bit faster, and it will be highlighted on the pages. So if you're not sure, like I just did, I just had to go through and see which one it was. It doesn't normally show quite so many of the same results when you put in the reference, but it's a good example for when I'm in front of you guys now to see that sometimes that can happen. So yeah, you can search by the word or the reference, and then the other way to do it would be by the chapter. So it does pay off to just kind of go through these and see what is located in the chapter. So just to help you find information down the road. Okay. Sorry, I thought I had a question there. So some other things to do with this particular program. I want to make sure I've got it all on the page. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this new Skype for Business program here. If you want to, you can highlight a certain section and you can have them read it to you out loud. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear it through my headphones or not, but if you just hit start reading, you can hear it reading the part that I've highlighted. The page layout you can choose if you want continuous view. That'll show you would scroll down to get to your, if you want, to the next page, or you can do this way with your next page arrow button. You can have facing pages. So for this, if I want to see it fully, I need to move that over, and then you'll see it just like you would if it was a hardcover with both pages on each side, or you can have single pages, which is how I tend to prefer it. You can highlight something if you want to. So do not capitalize the first word after a colon, and then you would make a highlight. And so the highlight will be whatever color you've chosen here. So you can do that. There's not as many features on this particular version, but what I find is the one big advantage to it is that I can make this preview pane much wider. So like I said, if I want to search something by the word, see here, there's 33 results. So where's that? There it is. So I can get a bigger preview of the sentence to hopefully help me narrow it down. So that, in my personal opinion, is the big advantage to this particular version of Book of Style. Okay, so are there any questions about this particular version? Okay, so I'm just going to close this up, and I'm going to close. Oh, and see, the part that I just highlighted is now added to my highlights on the right-hand side when I'm back to my home page. So I'm going to close this up. I'm sorry, and I'm going to open up the other version. So this is a website. Again, here it is. https://bookshelf.vitalsource.com. And you would just use the same sign-in information that you had used for the other VitalSource bookshelf icon. Okay, so I'm just going to hit sign in, and it's similar, and that's going to take you to a library, and you need to double click on it to get it open. And here's the page that we have. Okay, so basically there's a couple of things. So the home page at the top takes you here, so that one that looks like a little house. These little icons, the three dots and the lines, that will take you to your table of contents. So this is similar to the other one in that it's showing me the first page and the back page, but I have to click on this page to show the chapters now. And then again, we would go to the front page of the chapter and you can see what is covered there. Okay, so then the other thing to notice on this, sorry, as I click on my mouse with my index finger, it'll open up something at the bottom here. So this is where your highlights, your zoom options. So if I want to have the whole page show, I would hit fit height, and if I want it a little zoomed in, fit width. So you can decide which of those views that you prefer. Let me just go back to, I like the height because I like to see the whole page, and then if I want to, I can zoom in a little bit more if I choose. So that's completely up to you. And I'm just seeing, right now what I'm doing is I'm holding the control button down on my keyboard and I'm using the mouse to scroll up and down, and it's sort of just changing the width of the column over there, that's all. I was just trying to make it the right size so it was as clear as I could get it for everybody. Okay, so hopefully that's okay for everyone. So here's the thing, if you're on this page, let me go back. There we go. You'll notice there's a search bar at the top. Now, this search bar only works on the table of contents page if you're trying to search something that is in one of the titles of the chapters. So if I want to search, let's try period. There's nothing there because that's not the name. Here, I've got my Book of Style in front of me. I'm going to try pharmacology. There it is, see? So this is only going to work if I'm looking for the chapter titles, which, I mean, you might have a use for that. But if you're wanting to search for words, you want to go to where this magnifying glass is. And now we can search any word you want in the entire book. Now, the disadvantage to this particular version is you cannot make these columns any wider. So you may have to do a bit of playing around to find what you want. So just keep that in mind. But let's just do, again, like I did for the other one. Let's just say I want to find information. Let's let's say I have a dictator who says -2, and I'm not sure if I should write the minus sign or if I should write the word out. So I'm going to search the word minus, and there's a couple different ones there. I can see here minus sign it talks about, so I'm going to try that out, and perfect. I'm right here, right where I want to be. So you may need to play with these a little bit. It talks about if it's for blood types, you have to write out the words negative and positive. So the next one is talking about other than blood types, write out the word minus if you're not certain the symbol will be noticeable or clear. So an example of that might be if it was something like -4, where the minus symbol might sort of look like it's coming out of that crossbar on the number 4, you know what I mean? Like if you look here, -40, it kind of could blend together depending on the font you're using. So that's something to consider. Write out minus to indicate below 0 temperature. So there's the information on that. Let's say I've got someone who's talking about the flu shot, and I'm not sure whether or not to capitalize the word flu. Sometimes you're not necessarily sure what chapter that would be in, like, you know, what specialty would be talking about vaccinations or the flu shot. Sometimes you don't really know. So again, you can try researching the word flu. And luckily it's only in here a couple of times, so you can see if either one of them applies to what you want. In this particular case, it's not talking about that. So I know the flu shot's a vaccine, so I can write in, I'm going to write vaccination because it's more formal. It's probably more likely what they'll have. Nope. There we go, vaccine. There you go. So let's just see what they've got. There's 4 results. That shouldn't take too long here. So there's talking about one of the dangerous abbreviations. Pediatric immunizations, capitalized vaccine or immunization references in the record. So I can keep reading that. It goes to the next page. So here's my forward button. And then I can read more about it. So sometimes you need to try to think like what else might they have this listed under to see what's going on with that. So that's one example. Another one might be they have said 6 to 7 days, and I'm not sure, do I write the word to or do I put a hyphen? So if I have a look in here, let's just see here. I'm going to look at the chapters. Punctuation would be hyphens. So I can open up punctuation. And hyphens start down here, but there's more continued on the next page. So word division, compound modifiers. Let's see, there's ranges right there, 6, 5, 7. So I could forward through this until I get to 6, 5, 7. Or if I'm like, oh, that's quite a ways away, I can come here, like I said before, and put in 6, 5, 7. Now, with these results, the first one that shows up where you see this list of numbers, let me just show you. I just want to come back to where I was. Okay, so then I'm going to search 657 again. So this list of numbers here, you don't want to pick that one because it's just going to bring you back to this home page here. So it's usually the next one after that that is your lucky one if you're finding results like this. So let's try that one. And bingo, there we are, 657. So this is talking about ranges and when you can use a hyphen and when you can't. So you would use a hyphen if all of the following conditions have been met. So basically, this is a really common one. I'm just going to go over it really quickly. If you have phrases from 6 to 7, from 6 through 7, between 6 and 7, you don't use a hyphen. You would write it out. If there's no decimal, like 6.5, for example, and there's no comma, so any word over 1,000 that you might put a comma in the number, like 10,000, you would have to write the word to. You cannot use a hyphen. If either of your values in your range has 4 or more digits, so 1,000 and up, then you do not use a hyphen. If either number is a negative number, and if either number has a symbol, so your virgule, so a fraction, your percentage signs, your dollar signs, any of those things would count. And if they are there, you cannot use a hyphen. You would have to write out the word to. So this is a really handy one that I would say would be a good one to bookmark. So if I want to do my ranges, I want to get the bottom part there. So I can do a fast highlights. That's what this is. I can click on the little highlighter, pick my color, and I can highlight that. Bingo. I could bookmark the page. So that's this little spot here, bookmark it. If down the road you want to look at bookmarks again, you need to click on the little arrow beside it, and it will show you anything that you've bookmarked before. So unfortunately, it doesn't really describe it, it just gives you the pages. But anyways, that's what your bookmarks are for there. We'll get into some of the other things with this, but that's just a quick little spot to show you. Then let me just see here. The notebook will show anything I've highlighted, and if you noticed, it shows the one that I highlighted on the other version as well. So it looks like in the last update that it now will show anything you've highlighted on one, like the online, say, will show up in the bookshelf one that you've opened from your desktop and vice versa. That actually is newer. It didn't used to do that. So that's nice, and it'll show the different colors of highlighting. So there is that. Now this is kind of an interesting spot here, this lab. So here's where your read aloud part would be. So if I want to have it read this to me, if you're a really big audio learner, you can highlight what you want it to read and then just hit launch and then play. So I'm not 100%. Oh, I didn't get it highlighted, so it was reading what I highlighted before, I think. Anyways, why is it? You guys are getting to see all of the, oh, you know what? I still have the highlighter. I wonder. Take the highlighter off. No. I had no problems with this earlier. Oh, there we are. So now it is reading the part that I highlighted. I think it was finishing what I had highlighted earlier and was practicing with. So you can tell that this is off the cuff today. Oh, you guys had problems with the screen. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. All right. This is going to be recorded. It will be posted. So if there's any problems, it's recording what I'm seeing. So hopefully everything will be okay. So I was just going over on the side here. When you hit labs, you can get something to read aloud if you highlight it and then you hit launch and play. The Investopedia thing, don't worry about that. It's not going to be looking up medical words. There is a define thing that you can do. So let's just see here. If I highlight the word, then this comes up. So there's a few things I can do. I'll get to the flashcards in a minute, but I can hit define and it will look the word up. It doesn't tend to have a lot of the medical words, but it is there for some of the other things. Your scratch pad would be if you want to take some notes. Instant highlights again. This is the same thing that was down here before with this highlighter. If you don't have that on, you can highlight anything and then this will pop up and you can choose to highlight it, or you can add a note about it if you want to. So those things will come up anytime you highlight something anyway. The instant highlights would be anything you run your mouse over, holding down your index finger on your mouse, it will just instantly highlight. So if you're finding that's happening and you're highlighting things you don't want, then turn off instant highlight either here, the fast highlight, or here. The night display, if you're working at night and you're finding the white is too hard, then you can do this, the night display, if you want to keep reading before bed or something. Now the flashcards, you can get to it here or you can come down here to flashcards. It's just a way to study. So if I wanted for fractions to make this, oh, I have to get it to highlight what I want first. So I would highlight what I want and I can hit create flashcard and I can choose a deck. I've already got one started that I was using to test. So if I want to put it in that, I can, or I can start a new deck. So I've highlighted this part and then I can make a note about whatever it was I highlighted. So whatever you highlight is going to be on the front. And then you're going to write what's on the back. And then you would save it and you would click on it. Oh wait, I've got that backwards, it looks like. So I'm going to write what's going to be on the front. So let's edit this. Oh, let's see. Let's say you're trying to memorize the different ones for some reason. We'll write 656. So then there it is. If you have a word and you want to define it, you can do that too. So you can play with those, see what works for you guys. And this is all, again, I'm in this particular deck of cards. If I hit back, then it would take me back and show me any other decks I have. Okay. I see someone's typing a message there, so I'm just going to hang on. So really, I would say with this, to just do what I've been doing and just click on things, right click, highlight things, right click, highlight things and see what choices come up. Just play with it. You're not going to hurt anything. You can bookmark on this as well. There's the bookmark there. And then I've gone through the settings here before. I didn't find anything that was super useful. You can remove some of these colors if you want, add new ones so you can name them different things. If you're wanting to organize your highlights by color, that would be useful. But most of the rest of it had nothing to do with anything we would want, so I wasn't too worried about that. But your most important things are going to be your table of contents, your search box, and then I find the highlighting really helpful. And then again, remember, if you've highlighted things, then it will show up on the other one. So don't forget that. You can hit notebook and you can see a preview of it, what you highlighted. So that might be handier than a bookmark, because if it's a bookmark, I can't see what it's about. Whereas this, I'm like, oh, here's the stuff on ranges. Let me see. I can click on it and go to that page. So in my opinion, that is much more useful to get to the pages you want. If there's a spot that you are frequently using, this to me is better to do. Highlight it, and then you can go and look through here and get a nice preview and go right to that page. Let's see. So Janelle says, I've used the flashcards to make notes and then I can find them quickly afterwards for reference. For example, the rules about ranges, put ranges on the front and copy the rules to the back. Perfect. Janelle, that's a really good idea. Amanda says, I haven't used it, but I see that in Notebook that you can send it to OneNote. Okay, so that is another good tip. Yeah, so Jessica's saying she's having trouble finding things she bookmarked. So those are both good ways to do it. Is you can make your flashcard and then find it based on this. So maybe on this I should have called it something else to pertain to that. So let's just say, I'm trying to think of one that would be really common for me to give comments on. So let's say introductory elements. That's a really common one. So I could highlight this. So, and then I'm going to make a flashcard and I'm going to call it introductory elements. And I'm going to save it. Hopefully this works. No, it's opposite. Always opposite. Well, I'm going to have to work on that. You guys are going to have to practice. Let's see if I can copy all of this, paste it here, and then here. All right. Elements. Save. Ha! I did it. So if I can do it, you guys can do it too. So yeah, so that's the basics of this, of how to look things up. You can go by chapter. You can look at the cover page, see what you want there. I will just mention a couple of things here. of where you might find certain things. So measurement and quantitation, that's going to be your numbers. So in numbers, you're also going to find things about ages, clock references. So if they say a time, or if they give you a clock reference, like we incised at 3 o'clock, or anything to do with fractions and decimals. Oh my gosh, 1036, 1037, super important spots. Sutures, needles, wires, 10, 3, 12. That's a great reference to look at. Explains how they size the sutures, how to write those sizes. So just really get to know what are in these different sections. So things that you might not have thought of as being in numbers are there. So your fractions, your decimals, your times, how to begin it, whether you start a sentence with a number or not. So just, you know, it pays to take a little bit of time and just look at your different chapters and just see what's there. And then maybe you want to highlight some of these things for future reference too, or make your flashcard for them. So either way, that is handy. Amanda's saying you can use the little 2-directional arrow to swap them instead of copy and paste. There you go. So you guys are ahead of me on that. Okay, so I think that's the majority of things that you need to know about this. I can't think of anything else I would add. I did spend some time playing with these things, and some of them aren't useful for us, but I've gone over the things that I think that are most important for you guys to know. So then, let's go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so then the Stedman's resources. So with the Stedmans, when you very first start the course, they're going to give you the information. You need to download these. You're going to need to create a username and a password for these as well, and don't lose them because we won't know what you've changed them to. You're going to have the Stedman's online dictionary, and you're going to have the point, which are where the ebooks are located, and we'll get into those in a minute. So your stedmansonline.com will take you to the Stedman's dictionary. This is an online medical dictionary only. It does talk about abbreviations and so on in that dictionary. There will be illustrations you can find, videos you can find, and a lot of PDFs that you can download and print to keep. And there's some of them I would recommend. We'll get to those in a little bit. Then there's the point. So here are your 3 ebooks. There's a medical and surgical equipment words, medical terms and phrases, and your quick look drug book. So also we need to think about what our hierarchy of resources is. So I'm going to just open up our account specs, and if you scroll down to the bottom here, here's your hierarchy. So when you're transcribing reports, you're going to follow the account specifics first. Then you're going to look at the course material, then the book of style. And again, like I said, you'd be surprised what you can find in some of the book of style chapters. School issued Stedman's resources and internet sources. Actually, just going back to book of style, I want to show you something here. Sorry, this is what happens when you're off the cuff. In the appendices at the back, usage glossary, that is Appendix C. It's going to show you the most common sound-alike words, or homonyms if you like, that you're going to hear, and we'll explain what each of them means so that you can choose which is the correct spelling of the word for the context of the sentence. So don't forget that that's there. Appendix A has sample reports, which is handy, but they're not going to follow our account spec, so please keep that in mind. There's the AHDI statement on verbatim transcription, so if you're looking for something like that. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff here. So I really recommend that you go through and look at all of these different chapters really quickly. What I was going to say about these specialty chapters, and anyone who's ever watched me in a Q&A session knows, as a student, I didn't pay enough attention to these specialty chapters, and I could just kick myself because there's information in these that is so quick to find, and I just think of how much time I spent researching that I could have just gone here. So for example, even if you're doing a report and they give you information that is related to a specialty you haven't gotten to yet. So let's say they're talking about someone's past history and they're talking about a heart murmur and you're not sure how to write that heart murmur, 1 out of 6 heart murmur. Just go to the cardiology chapter, even if you haven't got there yet. Here's the topics, heart murmurs, 14.1.2, and it will show you, talk about the different grades of them and how to write them. So even if you haven't got there, it's there. The other thing, any of these topics that have stages and grades that you're not sure how to write, if it's Roman numerals or if it's Arabic numerals. So a common one I used to hear was a Lefort fracture, and then they would say, I believe it's grade 1 or 2 or 3. Lefort fractures are facial fractures. So we know that that would be in orthopedics. And then the orthopedics and neurology chapters join together, and each one shows the separate classification systems. So if I'm looking for the one for orthopedics specifically, like the Lefort 1815, we can do it this way if we want to. Go to the second one, because remember, that'll take you back to your cover page. And so it's showing you the most common classification systems for that specialty. So for orthopedics, it will be things like hip issues or joint issues or fractures. So here's your Lefort Roman numerals. So that is really handy. Also, some of these have uppercase and lowercase letters, so you can come and quickly see if it's in the list. It doesn't have everything. It just has the most common ones. They're in alphabetical order. But what you'll find is if you go to Google first, you might find that's written one way on one site and one way on another, and you have no idea what to do. So I would always suggest for these sorts of stages and grades to just come find the chapter, especially a chapter that applies, and then see if it's in that section, the classifications. So here's your Psych 1. I guess it's listing them out separately instead. Any of these that have them, there's ophthalmology ones there, and just see what's there, see if it's there, because if it's written in Roman numerals here, that is how you need to write it, unless of course your count specifics say something different. So that was one thing I wanted to mention I had forgotten, so I apologize for going a bit back and forth there. So we're going to go back to Stedman's. So again, so we've got the online dictionary, and then we've got the point that has 3 ebooks in it. So let's look at these different books. So I'm going to start with the ebooks. So if you have your course open, the way to open them is with the ebooks link. I'm going to right click on it and open it in a new tab, because otherwise it will just automatically open it in a new window. I just like to have everything all on the same page. So I'm going to go to the point, and then when you get here, you want to hit My Content, and then you're going to hit eBooks here. Okay, so here's our 3 books. So let's say that you've got a report and they say something that sounds like Addison or Addison clamp, and you're not really sure which one it was, or if it's Addison, is it 1D or 2? Is it Addison with an I in there? But you know for sure it's a clamp. So this is a surgical tool. So we're going to go to the medical and surgical equipment words. So open that up. I right clicked on it and opened in a new tab. You can just click on it, that's fine. So there's a couple things you could do. You could try typing the different versions of how you think it's spelled. That's fine. Or you can just go to clamp. Now here's the thing with this. You need to know how to spell any word that's in here. I know clamp is obvious. If you're trying to look up a word that you're not 100% sure how to spell, use your wildcard search site. So mtdictionary.com is a great one for anything medical. And find the spelling of the word. So let's just say the word, we'll just use, these are the chunks of the word that I've heard or I know how to spell. I don't know how to spell the rest of it. So I put in what I know and hit search. And then I try to find it in my list. And then I can just highlight it using my mouse, hit Control C to copy it, and then I can paste it into any of the Stedman's resources. So it's really important that you know how to spell the words. If you know what it sounds like, put in the parts that you know, the letters that are correct, and then hit search and try to find it that way. If you can't find it this way, you can try it with Google. I just tend to like this one for medical phrases. Anyways, so I know how to spell clamp, luckily. So that's good. Now there's a lot of clamps in here. So you can look through these early ones that you know would probably be starting with A to see if you can find Adson or Addison ending in clamp. So you can kind of go through here. Now I haven't got to the ADs yet. AD, add a clamp, that's not quite it. So it's a little bit of playing. Okay, so here's an Adson clamp. ADSON. So that is very good. So it starts with Adson. So this will show you all of the tools that start with Adson. So if you heard Adson and you weren't sure of the end of it, you could search Adson. For us, we know we heard clamp, we weren't sure how to spell Adson. So that's a good start. And if you want to, you can keep going through, see if we can get to where the word clamp would be. So we want clamp in the bold. And this takes a little bit of finagling. I can see that starts with B, so we're not quite there. So yeah, you have to play with it, but it can be really handy if you've heard a chunk of a word, not the whole thing, or you're trying to see if something's capitalized or not. So now we know that Adson's capitalized. Here we go. We're finally at clamp, and you just go through. These are all different types of clamps. So there's an Ackland microvascular clamp, an Adson clamp. I don't see Addison here, and I don't see Adson with 2 Ds. So now I know which one it is for sure. So that's basically how it works. For example, circular. These are all medical and surgical phrases that start with the word surgical or circular. So you can try to find those that way. So this can be quite useful to try to help you find what the rest of a phrase is. And then let's go back. Medical terms of phrases. If you know that it is not a surgical word and it is not a drug, you can try to find it here. And it's the same way. So I can write, say, sclerosis. And again, you kind of got to go through here to see what you can find. Doesn't usually take all that long to do, but so anywhere it's highlighted, so this would be amyotrophic, familial, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, those kinds of things. So that's basically what these are used for. I want to go to the Quick Look Drug Book though. So Quick Look Drug Book, if you hear a drug name, yep, surgical sites that sell this stuff, they're good resources. I did a webinar in January 10th, called Filling in the Blanks, and I go into a number of different sites to help with surgical tools and names. I go into things to help you with wildcard searches. So if you're not 100% sure how to use this, go to the Filling in the Blanks webinar. I will go through it very thoroughly with you. And now with Quick Look Drug Book, if you don't know how to spell the drug, again, you cannot find it. So you can find the spelling with drugs.com. You can do, I'm going to randomly type in letters. You can put in the letters that you know are there, or the parts of words you know are there, and it will bring up suggestions. And the more that you can put in there, obviously there's not one with a parentheses, the more it will narrow it down for you. So let's just do, I'm going to do ibuprofen. So I know that it starts with an I know there's a B, I know there's a P, and there it is, ibuprofen. You can look it up on drugs.com, but if you're doing a test or an exam, you need to remember the Quick Look Drug Book trumps drugs.com. And there is the rare discrepancy between the two, and you need to go with Quick Look Drug Book over drugs.com. because of the hierarchy of resources. So if you just highlight this with your mouse and hit Control C, And then there's my quick look. And I'm just going to hit Control V now, paste it in, and then hit search. So again, there's a couple of things you can do with quick look. This doesn't work so well with the other ones, but if you hit this button to go to the very last page, you can see if you can find it in the index at the back. Sometimes you get really lucky and you can find it really quickly, and it'll say, here it is, ibuprofen, it's page 494. So if I go back to my results, I want to go to page 494, I can type it in here, but if I do it this way, when I get to the page, you won't have the highlighting anymore. So I kind of prefer to find it in the list, hit page 494. So here we go. The Quick Look drug book is organized in alphabetical order of the generic drug names. So this name here, Ibrituomomab, that's how you say it. So that would be a generic drug. Ibuprofen, that's a generic drug. So if you hear them just say ibuprofen, you know it's generic. You don't need to capitalize it if it's in the middle of a sentence. But what can be misleading here, if I can get zoomed in, I've had people say, well, under the US Canadian brand names here, it's listed capitalized. So it's got to be okay capitalized, but you need to look at this more carefully. APO ibuprofen is your brand name. New ibuprofen is your brand name. So if you hear them say APO ibuprofen, it's capitalized in that particular name. They are just very uncreative brand names. It would be like if I made a new kind of gum and I trademarked it and I'm selling it at the stores, and you were to write gum, meaning my brand name, you would capitalize it. Like Lori's gum, you would capitalize gum. But if you're referring to any other gum that's generic, you don't capitalize it. So if Lori's gum were here, you'd see gum capitalized, but you'd see gum over here not capitalized. You need to be very careful. Did they just say ibuprofen? If they did, that is generic. Don't capitalize it. If it's new ibuprofen, you would capitalize it. So just really be careful with that. It will show you words that might sound similar to ibuprofen. And then if we go to the next page, we'll talk about dosages as well. So if you're not sure if they said 15 or 50 for something, say, and you got down to the doses, there's a lot here for ibuprofen because it's going through the different brand names. But say it's a drug that you weren't sure if it was 15 as in 1-5 or if it was 50 as in 50, you could look at the dose. If it was just made in 7.5 milligram pills, you know that would be a 15 milligram pill because that would be two 7.5 milligram pills. So you can look that up here as well. So yeah, just play with these. Just know that you need to have the correct spelling, and to do that, you might need to do a wildcard search somewhere else. So just keep that in mind, okay? So then if we're looking up something that we know, I already know this is brand name, so like Tylenol. Let's see here. We need to find the page that's just Tylenol. That's the only trick. Okay, here it is. Acetaminophen. I know that this is it, but let me just go to the next page. Tylenol. See, here's what happened. I went by the page instead. So I want... Oh, it's going to do this to me. Well, anyways, if you find something that is in the brand name section listed. Okay, well, here's it. This is a combination medication. So Tylenol, sinus congestion and pain, daytime. You see it here. If it's not matching the generic drug here, then you know you've got a brand. You can also keep going to see if you can find it somewhere else. But basically, you need to really be aware that the name that's in slightly larger font, bold, all lowercase, is your generic. If you hit search again while you're on the page you want, it will highlight it again. Now I don't know if I can find the page that I wanted before. There it is. I wanted the next page. Search. No, it's not working for me, but that's okay. It's just Murphy's Law because I've got all of you in front of me and I never have as much trouble as when everybody's watching. So I just want to go over Stedman's Online too because time is flying a lot faster than I thought it would. So here's your Stedman's Online. You'll sign in. You're going to need your username and password again. This is, of course, where you would put your definitions. And again, you need the correct spelling. But you can use this for other things too, other than just finding your definitions. So let's just say they said bare metal stent. And I wasn't sure if that should be hyphenated or not. And you can use this for different medical terms if you're not sure if you need a hyphen for them. So I can start to type in bare. And then I can already see it there, but let's say I didn't. I can try it without the hyphen, and I can see there it is without a hyphen. So I know that would be acceptable without a hyphen. If I didn't see anything pop up, I could then just delete a few words or letters, come back and start to type it with the hyphen, and it doesn't pop up anything. So I would write that without. You will find on occasion, and this is an example with bare metal stent, that it says one thing in one book, Stedman's book, and another online. So an example for this one, where did all my ebooks go? Of course, I've gone over the page. So let's just go back. I want my medical and surgical one for bare metal stent. So I'm going to put it in here without the hyphen. And when it goes to bare metal stent, there is a hyphen there. So when you have something like that where it's showing it one way in one resource and another way in another, and they're resources that are on our hierarchy, we'll accept it either way. So just keep that in mind. Stedman's Online has, you can narrow it down into if you're just looking for specific things. This mesh thing, it means medical subject heading. It is a curated medical vocabulary list by the U.S. National Library of Medicine. I tried looking some stuff up with this today. I couldn't find anything. I just tend to keep it at all definitions. If you want to hit one of these letters, what it will do is show you the pages of the dictionary if this were to be hardcover. So from E to eccentric relation, those are all the definitions you could find in those pages, and you can click on one to get your definition. There are a lot of illustrations here. So if you are looking for an anatomy chart or something like that, there's tons of different plates here that you can look at, all kinds of different things. So you can play with that. There are videos. So these are more like anatomical videos. So if you have, if you're not good with, videos of real things, just look away for the next minute. So sartorius, you can see what the action does. You can play it. It will show you the muscle and show you how it works. So if you have a hard time looking at that, just don't go to those. The reference page is the one that I find to be just priceless. So these are where your PDFs are going to be that you can download and keep them forever. So the ones that I would say would be the most useful would be the tests, and then where is it? Reference value. There it is. Reference range values for labs. This would be a really good one to download so that you can see what the normal ranges are for all of these different tests. So if something seemed funny to you and they didn't mention that there was an issue like hyperkalemia or whatever it is, you can just go here and look to see what are the normal ranges for that test. That's one that I would have used a lot when I was working full time. There's all kinds of different things. So this is something that you can go through and play with. The abbreviations and symbols, it will give you some of the really common ones. And again, you can go over here for more abbreviations and symbols. I wouldn't bother with this list of dangerous abbreviations. If you are in the course material and you go to content and then overview, there's a very comprehensive list right here. Okay. So I wouldn't worry about that in the Stedman's Online. But really go through this and play with it. There's so much information that's here that I think everybody just forgets about. So don't worry about Again, you can play with it all you want. Whatever you hit, you're not going to break anything. Let's just see. Yeah, okay, so we're getting near the end. I did have a quiz set up, but I am running out of time. So what I'm going to have to do, I think, I'm going to just show these quickly on here. There's the questions and the answers. And that way it's going to be on the video. And if you guys want to try to find things yourself, then you can have a look at this later, because I know that we're just about out of time, but I really want these examples to be present for you guys to look at later. So I'm just kind of cheating here. A bacon bone rongeur. I was so happy to find that today. I've never heard of that before. Okay. So this is a good one here. Like if they're saying Staphylococcus, but you can't hear the genus that follows it, just search Staphylococcus. You can either go to Stedman's online and start writing out Staphylococcus and see what genus follow it there. You're only going to see some of them, but that is one way to do it. Or you can go into your medical and surgical words, or not surgical, the other one, the medical terms, and write Staphylococcus and go to the page that starts with Staphylococcus and see what words follow it. So that is very useful. So I just want to get all of these in there so you guys can play with it later. And that's all I've got for it. There's so much to cover, so I really didn't think I'd be able to do a full hour, but that was easy enough to do. Are there any quick little questions for the last minute or so, or any other little tips someone's got that I might not know? Because I really, we all use it in different ways. I'm using it as an instructor to double check information, look things up quickly that I need, but you guys might be using it slightly differently. So if anyone's got a tip that I missed, feel free. Nothing? Okay. If anyone thinks of anything and you want to send me an email, feel free. Don't be shy. It's lmonks@canscribe.com. I'd be happy to hear any new tips that you guys have. I'm just going to stop recording this for now. I thank everybody for coming, and I wish you all